2017 batch, and I will be your moderator for the day. Now, our guest speaker that we have today is none other than Professor Priyadarshini Galapatti, whom all of us are familiar with as one of the most friendly and distinct lecturers in our faculty. She is a senior professor and chair professor of pharmacology. She is also the head of the Department of Medical Humanities in the Faculty of Medicine, University of Colombo, and a specialist in general medicine. She graduated from the Colombo Medical Faculty and joined the Department of Pharmacology as a lecturer in 1993 and completed her MD in Medicine, General Medicine by 1999. She is also one of the leading researchers in our faculty, with very many research publications and research grants to her name. Currently, she is the chairperson of the Research Committee of the Faculty of Medicine, University of Colombo, and a member of the Research and Development Committee of the University of Colombo. Now, the talk is on a topic that has given many of us, many sleepless nights. Now, MFRC is all about igniting the passion for research among medical students. And I'm sure today's talk will be of great value and go a great deal in igniting the previously mentioned passion. Right. Over to you, madam.
Okay, thank you, Manuel, for that generous and kind words of introduction. Yes, so what I was requested to present to you today is on identifying a research topic. And I understand that the majority of the students who are joining here are A-Level 2018 and 19 batch of students. And so I believe that A-Level 2018 may have started some work pertaining to their community stream research projects. And A-Level 2019 is, I think we are doing the foundation module, so you haven't still had time to engage in research or for any significant inputs on research. So with that background, I'll try to do this presentation. So the objectives for my presentation includes these. So I'll talk about what is a research project and the process of finding a good research topic, because that is the the main topic for today. The criteria for a good research project, the other aspects that you should consider when selecting a research topic, and I'll give you a checklist to select a good topic, and then just 1 or 2 slides on writing aims and objectives for the selected topic. So finally, the main outcome would be for you to be able to select a good research topic and write objectives to achieve those, the main topic that you have selected. So getting on to the topic of what is research. Research can be defined or explained as it's a systematic investigation and study of materials and sources to establish facts and to reach conclusions. It's a bit of a mouthful, and so it is. So you systematically investigate a particular topic, or you study certain materials and sources to establish some facts, and finally to reach some conclusions. The most important thing about a research is it is a creative work. Right? It's something new, creative, on a systematic basis. It's not very haphazard thing. Like creative can be very haphazard. You like drawing of art. Here, it's not like that. You go through it in a very systematic way, with the goal of finally increasing the knowledge base. Right? So that's very important. Increase the knowledge base. So a research project would try to validate evidence to ascertain. One is the findings of previous research. There may have been several studies done on that particular topic. So you want to find out whether that is really true, and particularly in the setting that you are studying. So validate the findings of previous research. Then some research may be done to solve new or existing problems. So you are trying to to find new or solutions to new or new problems or existing problem. Like, for example, we had a new problem of COVID-19, and so we are trying to find solutions to that. And then we also have a lot of existing problems like diabetes, heart diseases. So research is done to find solutions to those. And then we also research is done to endorse a theory or develop new theory. Sometimes, research is done to, for you to endorse a theory that this theory is true, or to develop a new theory. So those are the real, what we refer to as research. So therefore, research project may be based on past work or on existing literature in the field, right? So you have to do a good literature search, and you can do it based on past work as well as existing literature in the field. And research may be done to test study instruments, certain experiments, or even procedures. And you try to reproduce the previous elements of previous research, or do entirely new ones. So research should finally always aim at contributing something new to the existing literature. So this is particularly so, say for example, I wouldn't say maybe at undergraduate level where you are trying to do a research project to learn the research methodology. It may not be possible to do something which is entirely new, but you should always keep that in the back of your head to try and see whether even in your small research project, whether you can do something new to add something new to the existing literature. This is particularly important for a higher, if you are doing, after you graduate, if you are doing a higher degree, then it is important to see, to do something entirely new. So therefore, when we are selecting the research topic, the first selecting the right topic is the first step in any research project. Because if you select a wrong topic, then your research project may not be very useful or valid. And to select the correct right topic, you need creative thinking, because I told you a research will try to generate new or original or unique ideas. So for that purpose, you need to, think very creatively. So the factors that you need to consider include the level at which the research is done. Now, most of you are going to do research project at undergraduate level as a requirement of the community stream. Then for the project that you are trying to do, one important question that you need to ask is funding needed? Do you need some funding for this purpose? These days, this is particularly important because you know that we don't have money. So therefore, projects, if you plan to do projects which require funding, you are likely to fail. Then therefore, if you consider the feasibility, you should consider the prospect of engaging in joint projects. So if there is a project which is ongoing, and then you can join up with that would be useful, and the feasibility will be more. Another very important thing is accessibility to resources. Now, if you are when you are doing the project, like access to patients and so on. And then for what purpose are you doing? Like I mentioned, it may be for the community stream project, research project, or it may be once you join a department in the faculty, it may be you are requested to do a project for the department, or if you join some program like a HIV/AIDS program, then you might be requested to take part in a project, research project done there, like that. And then you also need to consider, when selecting a topic, the supervisor and the supervisor's suggestions. So what does because always research at undergraduate level as well as research if you do at postgraduate level, leading to a postgraduate degree like a MPhil or a PhD or even master's level research, it is guided by a supervisor, and supervisor will also be able to give a lot of good suggestions. But finally, the project is yours. So the person who is doing the project primarily will have to select a topic that you're comfortable with. So again, so consider when you're selecting the topic, consider an aspect related to the relevant field of study. So the field of study, that if you are in a particular department, relevant to that department, or as an undergraduate student, if you are interested in a particular field like medicine, surgery or something, then better to select something like that if that is possible. Then health needs of the society, particularly current health needs. So now, when we had the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of research projects were done on COVID-19 because to see, to identify who are the people who are more prone to it, what is the vaccine efficacy, and, so many projects. Then is the topic related to a disease burden in the population, and at what cost? So it should be a disease that is prevalent in the population that you are studying. And then, is it a very costly affair? Like, for example, now rabies, just to give an example, rabies vaccine is very expensive. So therefore, if you are doing a project on the utilization of rabies vaccine, then it will be quite a study which will give some useful information on using the very expensive rabies vaccine. So these are determined by the prevalence and the severity of the illness, and sometimes the illness may not be widespread, but not serious, or vice versa. And also the mere fact that it is widely prevalent does not mean that it is indicated for research, because sometimes a widely prevalent disease might have been extensively studied, and so there may not be any point in doing something which has already been done several times like that. Then the solution may be present but not implemented or made available. That is for the particular topic project. A solution may be present, but if it is not like there is a guideline, but guideline is not implemented or made available, so then you can see how it can be implemented by doing a research. So how to implement and to make it available is important. So you can do a research project on that also. Then there can be a problem which may be severe and there is a need, but questions need to be asked before prioritizing. So like, for example, it can be, acute myocardial infarction, which is a severe condition, right? So then the questions that you need to ask, there may be a lot of research done on that. So the questions that you need to ask before prioritizing, under that broad area is the question well understood to look for potential interventions, like, the various medications that are given or whatever. How economic are the approaches? Now are you talking of like, putting in a stent or giving a thrombolytic or giving just, medical treatment like that. So, and I mentioned about the requirement for money. Any other resources you need? So do you need lab work? Like, for example, do you need to monitor the patient's blood counts, liver functions, the kidney functions? So then are those available? Then most important factor for medical students or even for a higher degree is, can this project be done during that time available? Right, so I think you are expected to, for a community project, you have to do it within a period of 6 months to 1 year, and a PhD project will have to be done within 3 years, MPhil within 2 years. So this project, can it be done within that time frame? And are there enough patients? Very often, as you start doing a study, the patients, you won't get that very many patients. Good example is, we did a clinical trial of ivermectin in COVID-19 patients. We started it last year when the huge big Delta wave, was affecting our people. But then when we started recruiting patients, we started recruiting mild to moderate patients within 4 days of symptoms. But the patients who are getting admitted to hospital, most of them are coming late. So therefore, you would see only when you start recruiting patients that although there may be large number of patients, the inclusion exclusion criteria that you have used may limit the number of available patients. So therefore, that also need to be considered. And then, of course, if you are trying to do during a pandemic, like now we are still in a pandemic, and now pandemic is over and we are now in economic crisis, and as a result, we can't travel, patients can't travel. So therefore, will that affect data collection? So whatever the prevailing conditions at the time that you are going to do, and also perceive, things that you think might come up in the future, whether there may be additional challenges. So when you start, before you really focus and finalize the project, you must fill the information gap by searching the literature. Why I said fill the information gap is that there may be some things which are not very clear based on what is currently available on that particular topic. So for that, you need to do a good literature search. So search, adequate search using, libraries, now a lot of online resources. And then not only search, you must read all those relevant articles to have a good understanding of the around the topic that you are going to study. So the sources of literature, there are open access publications. Again, you have to be aware of, there are what are called predatory journals, which are not peer reviewed. Lot of online journals are there, which are not credible journals. They publish things which may not be peer reviewed. So we are not, sure of the validity of those publications. So you have to be very, aware of that. So therefore use articles which are published in reputed databases like PubMed, which is National Library of Medicine. You can use Google Scholar, but there are also, you can have some predatory publications. Then other sources like MBase, CINAHL, Cochrane collaboration of the Oxford University that gives systematic reviews and summaries of evidence on particularly common disease conditions like diabetes, heart disease. There are a lot of ones. And then you can also use the major journals, major medical journals. The three major medical journals you may be already aware, like BMJ, New England Journal of Medicine, Lancet. So you can search in those journals. Of course, this is depending on the area that you are going to study, you are thinking of doing the project. And so through that journal search, you can identify some of the important publications that you should refer and read up before embarking on the project. Once you do a good search, you develop a good bibliography. I think that is the list of references. So there are now software tools that will help you to manage the research papers. Mendeley, I don't know whether you may have heard of, it's free. Then the other software, EndNote, which is not free, you have to subscribe to it and get it. I think most of the students use Mendeley. So it's good to learn, to search through Mendeley. So you have to read in and around the topic all the articles that you found. So try to read a research paper each day and summarize it. Now that is if you are fully engaged in a research, like going for a PhD or MPhil, but even undergraduate research, you must try to at least go through the abstract and try and understand what is known about that particular research, particular subject at that particular time. So the researcher needs to know about the needs of research organizations, countries, particularly if you are going to do a bigger project and trying to ask for funding, and where you want to get new ideas and so on. And you have to be a good observer to observe, what is recorded in journals, and also be creative to identify a good area to study, to do a project. So research should be selected by the understanding that Science should not be admired, but questioned. So science is always something to question, right? So you must, so even after, reading an article, you must ask, why did that happen? How did it happen? Can that be prevented? So if you ask that type of questions only, you will be able to, identify a good topic for you to do the project. So once you have an overall superficial idea, then you will go into develop the breadth of the depth of the project. So that you can do by doing a further literature search. You discover latest research in recent conferences. Like you can, I mean, as medical students, we used to go for these various college sessions, Sri Lanka Medical Association sessions, like SLMA, College of Physicians, endocrinologists, neurologists, and so on. So many now, a lot of colleges sessions are there, and some of these are online also. So try and, if ever you find some time free, try to, join those sessions, and then you will get ideas on because their research are presented in those sessions, and you would get some ideas on good research projects to do. And I mentioned about journal searches in major journals, and you can find further papers by going through the citations of the research article that you have identified. So you can also go through this Google Scholar citation list, and then so on that particular topic, detailed searches you can like. So I would like to now request you to write down 1 or 2 topics that you might take up as a project. Right? So if you are thinking of like a community stream research project, right? You can consider, you can write down 1 or 2 topics, consider what I said now, and then I'll give you just about, 1 or 2 minutes and write down. You can put it into the chat forum, right? That an area or a broad area that you consider to do a project. We can take it up for discussion, towards the end. Okay, so think of any projects. So we'll come back to it, in a little while. So criteria for a good research project includes, these are all the criteria. I mentioned some of this: feasibility, the significance to the discipline, like, what you are interested, medicine, surgery, pediatrics, how original it is, whether you have any peer support, whether you are having now other support of the others, other friends and colleagues, availability of subjects, and your competence. Are you competent enough to do this? It should be something very current, something very interesting. The topic should be clear and unambiguous. It should be relevant. Relevant, systematic. You write down the topics. We will, come back to it, at the end. Systematic and ethics. I'll come to each of those. So feasibility. The study population should be able to be recruited within the period that you are going to do this project. So where, and you must, find if it's involving certain lab work, you have to have equipment, supplies, other requirements, patients, then expertise should be available. If you need certain expertise to conduct the project. I mentioned about the cost involved. Then now very important to have not too many and too ambitious goals, because consider the time period available and limit it to whatever that can be achieved during the time. Focus on a single primary objective, right? And then which can be complemented by secondary objectives to generate other important findings. So while you are looking at the topic, you must look, consider the objectives also, because the topic, whatever that you are going to find out, you are going to identify through the objective. So they are very closely linked, although I'm not going to talk about that in great detail. So significance to your discipline or subject area, you must consider some criteria to evaluate. Are the findings going to benefit the interested parties, like, the project that you are working for, or the department, if you are working it for a particular department, then is it going to be useful for, implement certain current practices? Then is it going to produce some solutions to the current problems or the needs? And then is it going to generate some information for the profession to have practical implications? So some of these might not be possible when you are doing a project, to learn about research methodology. But even at your levels, if you consider all this when you are selecting a topic, you would be able to, identify a good research topic, which will, with which you will be able to generate this type of information. So I was mentioning about originality. That is, so research should always be unique and new. We should try to, innovate knowledge to select a research issue, and try to increase the existing knowledge in the profession. So, rather than just doing something which is already well known, even within a particular disease, you can identify a small area which may not be very, well defined. So peer support means, shared interest among other, other students, or other, your other colleagues, and so on. And particularly at higher degree level, many projects fail due to lack of peer support. Now, for example, at student level, 3 or 4 of you are going to do a research project. So the project can fail if, all are not really interested in the topic, and all are not giving good support. So therefore, I think it is important to select a topic which all the students are really keen to carry out. So regarding the availability of study subjects, you must ensure this in advance. So if you like, conditions like diabetes, heart disease, enough and more patients. But as I said, they may not meet the inclusion-exclusion criteria. So therefore, consider those also. And then some patients may not be willing to participate. And some may be already in other studies. Some other students also may be doing the same, kind of research and involving the similar study population. So the patients may not be available. So consider all those. Competence of the research, that is, when you are going to do, are you competent to carry out this particular research project? Because I can remember sometimes some students were trying to do some things which they were not really competent to do. Right, they were not competent to assess the patient's situation and conditions. So if so, then at student level you may not be able to carry it out without the support of another senior colleague. Then, so I mentioned about being current, a topic which is currently important. And so then, because then others also will be interested in the project. It should be interesting. So the research problem should be the motivation to carry out the project. Then only you will be doing the project with some enthusiasm. And so the investigating students should be personally interested in the topic, and you should be able to attract other colleagues to carry out the project. Otherwise, the project may not be worth doing if people are not very interested in carrying out the project. Then the title has to be clear and unambiguous. It should not, nothing should be left to interpretation. It should be clear. So methodology also, sometimes the methodology is also given in the title, like a randomized double-blind controlled clinical trial. You would have seen in publications, you say that this is a randomized controlled clinical trial of what, or this is a descriptive study of this, or a comparative study, or a case control study. So that also is there in the title. So the research question that is subjected to scientific inquiry should be there in that title. And finally, the results should be verifiable by scientific calculation. So it should be relevant, like to the time, profession, needs of the society, and competence of the researcher. Should be very systematic. I told you, you systematically evaluate the research, the literature, and then go through the process of designing the research project. And based on that, you finally finalize the research topic. Ethics is very important for the research, for a research project involving humans. So you have to address the ethical issues early. And some ethical issues may indicate that the study should not be planned at all, because if it is considered unethical, then you should not plan such a study. So always you have to consider the ethical aspects, and you need to get ethics approval prior to carrying out the research project. So you need to get ethics approval from ethics review committee. So if it is a clinical trial, then you need also additional approval from the regulatory authority. And any risk of harming people, environment, or property has to be considered. And particularly if you're doing a research project on vulnerable populations, or a disease which is subjected to like discrimination, like maybe stigma, like HIV, AIDS, and so on. So you have to maintain privacy and confidentiality. Society's cultural, moral, religious, and legal values have to be considered. And so therefore honesty and integrity in conducting research is very important. So all this have to be considered when you're considering the research topic, because if there are some ethical concerns, then you can't do that research topic. So certain things that you need to consider for a higher degree, I'll skip that because that is not very relevant to you at this time. So once you have thought of all this, you do creative thinking by, having a mind map. I'll come to that in a moment. So some sources of research topics you can actually look at. Now, once you read a particular article in an area that you are interested, you look at the research, the recommendations for future research, limitations. Then you can address those limitations and design your study. So you can, as I mentioned about presentations, discussions in conferences, you can find some topics, and also you can approach the authors of particular papers to get their suggestions also for future research. So you can do a mind map of once you have done a lot of good reading.
Madam, we can't hear you.
Because I told you, try to be creative, so you can draw a big mind map And then you can identify which particular area now regarding health you might want to study stress, and then so on stress, whether it is relaxation, yoga, or whatever, or if it is exercise, a particular area on a particular type, or a diet if it is one particular. So like that you can identify, depending on the topic, a particular topic, a particular sub area. Identifying a supervisor is also very important. For the topic that you are going to do, identify a suitable supervisor, and who will be having expertise. I don't know whether in the community research project, it may be sometimes good to discuss with the supervisor. If you are just given a supervisor, you don't have the, I think probably you don't have the luxury of selecting whom you want. In that case, jointly with the supervisor, you can decide on a topic which is acceptable to both the supervisor and the students as well, so that you don't need to go elsewhere to get expertise to conduct the research topic. So yeah. So I think I'll skip this slide because this is mainly at postgraduate level. So the topic finally should be not too broad, not too narrow. So when the scope is too broad or too narrow, it will be difficult to conduct the topic. And if the topic is too broad, you will, end up writing only general, only in general, and not go in deep into the problem. So if it is too narrow, then it becomes difficult to find adequate literature, or you may not be able to do adequate amount of work, and so on. It should be scientific, practical, social, and personal relevance. So that should be there on a research project. I told you it should make original contribution to the field, and should try to solve practical problems for the organization or the community at large. So when conducting the, when selecting the research topic, you must do according to this friends for topic selection. So F is feasible. I mentioned that all the aspects, how it is going to be feasible, relevant, consider whether it is relevant, all the scientific, practical, social, and personal aspects, whether it is interesting, whether you are going to do it in an ethical manner, and whether it is narrow enough, neither too broad nor too narrow, and consider the discipline, whether it is the discipline that you are interested in, and the supervisor, who is a very important person when conducting the research project. So the topic selection should be based on friends. So once you identify the topic, then finalize the topic, considering the friends, not too long, not too short, sufficiently descriptive, and reflecting the study that is going to be done. So again, it's the same thing. So final checklist, once you decide on the topic, this is the final checklist. When you can answer the following questions, you are ready to conduct a research that leads to a paper. So these are what problem do you want to solve, right? What is the problem that you want to solve? Who cares about this problem and why? What have the others done to solve this problem, and why is that inadequate? So whatever the topic that you have selected, ask these questions. What is your proposed solution to the problem? What is new about your approach? Who will care if you succeed in this project? How long will it take to do the project? And how can you demonstrate that this is a good solution that you're offering to the problem that you're studying? So if you can answer these questions well, then you have selected a good topic. So these are some additional things to consider: what you're passionate about, your strengths, collaborations, and then whether you are going to get peer support by asking other students and faculty as well. This is about objectives, just only this slide. Once you select the topic, you write the objectives. Again, it has to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time bound, and it has to start with a verb like, describe or define or identify, things like that. And it's a numbered list, 1, 2, whatever. Right. So any questions questions you want to ask? I think we can go to this question. Yeah, some topic. Oh, I have lost the previous chat when my connection got lost. Can you give some research topics that you thought of, and we can discuss, whether they are good topics and whether you want to improve on it further and fine tune, refine. We can discuss now if there are any topics. Yeah. Yes. I think there was previously there was some student, I think, put a research topic that you have considered to considered for the community stream research project. The use of hyperventilation for brain constriction in brain surgery and its effect on cerebral circulation. So if you take the first one, I wonder whether, yeah. So there are some topics that they all are sending. That's good. So one is the use of hyperventilation for brain constriction in brain surgery and its effect on cerebral circulation. So I think that's quite a good topic, particularly probably not for undergraduate level, but if you are doing at a higher level, because at undergraduate level, this is like actually an interventional study, because we are going to get the patients to do hyperventilation prior to brain surgery or whatever. So it's an interventional study. So then in that type of for that type of a study, it is there will be a lot of ethical concerns, and I don't know whether the capability at undergraduate level will be definitely questioned. Can someone elaborate more on this? Is it something that you all have seen or planning to do? Then there is another one. Okay, can come on this. Quality of life and stigma among leprosy patients attending dermatology clinics of NHSL. Yeah, I think now that's quite a good good topic. Quality of life and stigma among leprosy patients. So again, you have to do a good literature search, and now to identify the quality of life. Again, you have to do, there are certain tools used to assess quality of life. So there are like SF36, short form 36, or sometimes there may be quality of life questionnaires, which are particularly developed for certain disease conditions. So you may have to do a search on that. That is why I said on the topic you need to do a good search and identify those. And then see what has been done previously on leprosy patients. So but otherwise this can be done at the student level, and would be a good topic. Current prevalence of personal protective habits, mask wearing, hand sanitizer with ongoing socio-economic crisis in Sri Lanka. Yes. So how many people are using PPEs, like wearing masks, hand sanitizers? Yes. So I think that's a current problem, current topic. And so it is something which the, which will be useful to identify, because can people buy the mask with the current situation and so on. So I think that will be a good topic. You can do a literature search, and so it's new. It's not something which is in this current crisis, has not happened earlier. So therefore, I think that will be a good generating new knowledge, certainly. Interventions provided for diagnosed patients in Sri Lanka with autism spectrum disorder in selected autism care units, and the caregiver satisfactory levels of the services provided. Now, this, as you can see, I would say that the topic can be shortened a bit. It's a bit lengthy as it is. So this is I think the topic is interventions provided for diagnosed patients in Sri Lanka with autism spectrum disorders in selected autism care units, and the caregiver satisfactory levels of the, so it is on autism spectrum disorder interventions provided for the patients and the caregiver and the satisfaction of caregiver. I think this title can be further improved. You can discuss with your supervisors and then further tightened the title. Association between revised physiological trauma score of RTA, road traffic accident severity and characteristic of road traffic accidents of patients admitted to accident service. Revised physiological trauma score. Yeah. So now this also might be a new one, because revised physiological trauma score, I'm not familiar with that. So if it is a recently revised one, trauma score, then so association between the revised one of RTS severity and road traffic accident of patients admitted to accidents. Now, I mean, so that's again a current topic. Current topic means a topic relevant to our country, because there are a lot of road traffic accidents in Sri Lanka these days. Of course, with people not having fuel, our road traffic accident rates may be low, but otherwise it's any study on road traffic accidents would be quite relevant and would likely to lead to some useful results. So therefore, I think for each of these, consider these so what problem do you want to solve? Who cares about this problem? So what has been done previously? What is your proposed solution to this issue? What is new? For whom will it be useful? And how long would it take for you to do the thing? And what can you demonstrate? And also, I think I showed you this, always consider the friends, right? Whether each of these, that's why this feasibility will be a big problem in this hyperventilation in brain surgery. So therefore, you have to consider that seriously. Relevance, I think I show, particularly this, even the stigma in leprosy. And so we have leprosy patients, so you can do that. And these current personal protective habits, it's relevant, interesting. There aren't very many ethical issues. Ethical issues will be relevant for the stigma in leprosy patients, because again, patients' confidentiality and things have to be maintained. So sufficiently narrow. So I think again, this autism spectrum disorder one, you have to again maybe limit this, shorten it and fine tune that topic. So it has to be the discipline that you like to carry out this project, and your supervisor, supervisor will be able to help you in the particular selected topic. So those are some of the I think good, interesting topics, a range of topics, and so each of those try and consider these aspects and see whether they fit into the friends. Any further questions? Yeah. You want to wrap up, Manu? I think it's now. We have.
Okay, madam, there seem to be no further questions.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, madam, for the wonderful talk. It was really instrumental in broadening our minds on this topic, which is a really troublesome area for us. So thank you for taking time off your busy schedule and coming here today to help broaden our young minds. And we are extremely grateful to you, madam.
Okay, my pleasure. I hope you learned something in addition to what you already knew about selecting a research topic, and I hope you will be able to select good research topics and carry out good research projects in the future. Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
the
you, ma'am.
invitation. Okay.
Also,